Gene Sauers' troubles started the moment doctors got his diagnosis wrong. But as bad as that was, the real shock came when they finally figured out what was actually wrong with him, and it was even worse. The illness nearly took his life, turning his world completely upside down. In 2009, Gene Sauers faced what was, without a doubt, the biggest battle of his life. He was diagnosed with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, a rare and extremely dangerous skin condition that left him fighting for survival. The situation was so severe that doctors only gave him a 25% chance of making it through. He spent 7 long and grueling weeks in the hospital, enduring unimaginable pain and undergoing multiple skin grafts in an attempt to repair the damage done to his body. It was a terrifying and exhausting experience, one that would test not only his physical strength, but also his mental health. His eventual recovery and return to professional golf stand as proof of his incredible determination and unbreakable spirit. But what makes his story even more heartbreaking is the fact that his battle with Stevens-Johnson syndrome could have been avoided, or at least caught earlier, if not for a devastating mistake. Before doctors realized what was truly wrong with him, he had been misdiagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. This incorrect diagnosis set off a dangerous chain of events. Because doctors believed he had rheumatoid arthritis, they put him on medication that not only failed to treat his actual illness, but also allowed the Stevens-Johnson syndrome to progress unchecked. By the time the correct diagnosis was finally made, the condition had already taken hold, making his recovery even more difficult and painful than it might have been if caught sooner. For him, this was more than just a terrifying health scare. It was a moment that completely derailed his career and forced him to step away from the game he loved. And yet, this was not the first time he had faced a major roadblock in his journey as a professional golfer. Back in 1995, he lost his PGA Tour card, a crushing blow for any golfer at that level. Without a spot on the PGA Tour, he had no choice but to grind his way through the Nike Tour, which is now known as the Korn Ferry Tour. He spent years working his way back, refusing to let the setback define his career. Through sheer determination, he eventually regained his PGA Tour card, proving that he had the resilience to push through even the toughest challenges. These obstacles, from losing his PGA Tour card to battling a life-threatening illness, undoubtedly slowed down his career. But if there is one thing that he has proven time and time again, it is that he is not the type to back down. No matter how many setbacks he has faced, he has always found a way to fight back, overcome the odds, and keep doing what he loves. Sauers turned professional in 1984, and it did not take him long to make his mark on the PGA Tour. Later that same year, he joined the tour and quickly proved that he belonged among the best golfers in the world. By 1986, he had already secured his first victory at the Bank of Boston Classic, a moment that confirmed his talent and potential. Winning on the PGA Tour is no easy feat, and for a young golfer like him, it was a major milestone that set the stage for what many believed would be a long and successful career. In 1989, he added another impressive win to his record at the Hawaiian Open, solidifying his reputation as a player to watch. The victories kept coming, and in 1990, he claimed the title at the Deposit Guarantee Golf Classic in Mississippi. This tournament was played at the same time as the Masters, which meant that it was not an official money event at the time. Still, for Sauers, another win was another win, and it was clear that he had the ability to compete at the highest level. As the 1990s continued, Sauers found himself in several high-stakes situations, where he was on the brink of even more victories. In 1992, he played outstanding golf at the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic and found himself tied for first place at the end of regulation play. This meant he had to compete in a playoff to determine the champion. After battling through multiple extra holes, he ultimately lost to John Cook on the 4th hole of the playoff. Although he came up short, the experience proved that he had what it took to fight for titles against some of the best players on tour. That same year, he came incredibly close to capturing his first major championship. The 1992 PGA Championship was one of the biggest moments of his career as he led the tournament for the first 3 rounds. Holding the lead in a major is something that few golfers ever get to experience, and he had the chance to do it on one of the sport's biggest stages. Although he was unable to hold on to his lead in the final round, he still finished in a tie for second place, marking the best major finish of his career. 2 years later, in 1994, he once again found himself in a position to win, this time at the St. Jude Classic. He and Hal Sutton both tied for the lead at the end of regulation, but they were not alone. A young rookie named Dickie Pride was also part of the tie, and in the end, it was Pride who emerged victorious. Another close call, another chance at a trophy that slipped away, but Sauers kept pushing forward. Then came one of the biggest challenges of his professional career. In 1995, Sauers lost his PGA Tour card, a devastating blow for any golfer. Without his card, he could no longer compete regularly on the PGA Tour, which meant he had to look for opportunities elsewhere. He turned to the Nike Tour, which is now known as the Korn Ferry Tour, and spent years grinding it out, working tirelessly to regain his place among the top golfers in the world. He recorded a victory at the 1998 Nike South Carolina Classic and earned about a dozen top 10 finishes along the way. The road back to the PGA Tour was not easy, but Sauers refused to give up on his dream. His persistence paid off in late 2002 when he finally secured another PGA Tour victory at the Air Canada Championship. This win was huge for him because it not only marked his return to the winner's circle, but it also gave him a 2-year exemption, meaning he could compete on the PGA Tour without having to worry about losing his card again during that period. That same year, he was named the PGA Comeback Player of the Year, a well-deserved honor that recognized the hard work and determination it took for him to fight his way back. For the next few years, he continued to compete on the PGA Tour, but in 2005, his career was once again derailed. This time, however, it was not because of a poor stretch of golf. Instead, it was because of something far more serious: his health. At first, doctors misdiagnosed him with rheumatoid arthritis, a painful condition that affects the joints. But as it turned out, they had gotten it completely wrong. Sauers was actually suffering from Stevens-Johnson syndrome, a rare and life-threatening skin condition. He was given only a 25% chance of survival, and for several months he battled through excruciating pain, multiple skin grafts, and a grueling recovery process. The ordeal left him with visible scars, but more importantly, it left him with an even greater appreciation for life and for the game of golf. For years, Sauers was unable to compete professionally. From 2006 to 2010, he was completely out of the game, focusing solely on his health and trying to recover. It was a long and difficult road, but once again, he refused to give up. By 2011, he felt well enough to test the waters, playing a limited schedule on what was then called the Nationwide Tour. He spent the next 2 years slowly working his way back before making his Champions Tour debut at the Boeing Classic in 2012. That year, he managed to earn 2 top 10 finishes and was honored by being inducted into the Georgia Golf Hall of Fame, a well-deserved recognition of everything he had accomplished. In 2013, he played a full season on the Champions Tour and continued to show that he still had the talent to compete at a high level. He finished as a runner-up in 2 different tournaments that year, including a heartbreaking playoff loss to Esteban Toledo at the Insperity Invitational. Despite the close calls, he ended the season ranked 19th on the Champions Tour money list, proving that he was officially back. The following year, in 2014, he kept pushing forward. In the first half of the season, he played in 11 events and managed to finish in the top 25 6 times. His best finish came at the Allianz Championship in February, where he tied for 15th place. Then in July, he found himself in another dramatic playoff, this time at the U.S. Senior Open in Oklahoma. He was tied with Colin Montgomery after 72 holes, but unfortunately, he was unable to pull off the victory in the 3-hole playoff. 2 years later, in 2016, he finally got his long-awaited victory on the Champions Tour. At the U.S. Senior Open in Ohio, he played some of the best golf of his career and emerged as the champion, securing his first senior major title. After everything he had been through, the misdiagnosis, the life-threatening illness, the years away from the game, this win was a proof of his talent. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.